Welcome to the Millionaires mini-series with your hosts Stephanie Keith and Stacy Failing, here to set you up with the most luxurious version of yourself. This podcast is filled with wealthy women vibes and a sneak peek into the millionaire's lifestyle. Whether you're inner millionaire's dreams of taking private jets to deserted islands or you prefer the lighter side of luxury, we have an opportunity for you that is priceless.
Come join us as we share with you all of our juicy money secrets, mindset hacks, and so much more. Money may not buy happiness, but it can provide you with an abundant life beyond your wildest dreams. So turn up the volume, adjust your crown, and get ready to embrace your inner millionaire-ess.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Millionaire's Mindset Podcast. Today, Stacy and I have on one of our besties from our mastermind, Christina, aka our hype healer girl. So Christina, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have your energy. You were definitely our hype girl throughout the mastermind, always sending positive messages, like super high vibe energy. And through your to go and get certified to become a hypnotherapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, Christina, the hype healer girl, like that is you to a T. So why don't we kind of talk about your journey of how you came to decide that that was the thing, like that was your calling and that was what you're going to step into in this next phase in your life?
Oh my gosh. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I am like the biggest fan even before any of this. So you guys just like warm my heart. Oh my gosh, like the journey to like becoming somebody certified in hypnotherapy is so crazy. It has so many stages, so many things along the way, but really stepping into this place where I didn't have to be in doubt that I could like offer this, it really held me back for a long time. Like, oh, you don't have this certification or this schooling or this. And I really kind of took away and doubted my value, the brightness of my light to shine. And the mastermind, I think, really helped to unlock some of that shit had been holding me stuck for a really long time. So it's like, it was a little tidbit actually that my husband had shared. And I'd already been like experimenting with hypnotherapy for a long time actually, but never really occurred to me how precious to me or how that would be like an amazing modality, because it really can help you like change this stuff that you're really stuck with quite quickly, you know. So there's so many places for subliminals, for meditation, for journaling and all of that. And this is just one of those additional modalities that just helps you stop this like path that you're on that's just like no longer serving you.
I think it's so cool too, because while you're learning all of this skill set and these tools and techniques to help other people when you're certified, you're actually doing all the work yourself. And so you're on this healing journey to heal yourself, but then to turn around and to be able to help heal others come out of the things that you yourself have experienced. And I think for me, when I want to work with somebody, I want to know that they were in it, that they know what the hell they're talking about, not just because they have a piece of paper that says that they're certified and qualified, but that they went through the work. And that's what you're doing. And we saw it in the mastermind. And just that little bit of time that we've spent seeing this develop, you're going to do amazing things. And the healing process for yourself, just speaking on that, has been tenfold from the moment that you walked in the doors. And one thing I want to touch on is that you were our hype girl through and through. But what we often don't realize is that the biggest hype girl sometimes is going through the deepest healing. And you stepped into that though. Like you embraced that you were the hype girl, but you embraced the need to heal. And I don't know how to put that into words, Steph, maybe help me out. But what I saw from her was incredible.
Yeah, you created an environment where I think everyone just automatically felt comfortable sharing, because while you were the hype girl and you would like just give so much good energy, you also let yourself be vulnerable and share. And then it was like that opened the floodgates for everyone to feel like they could be that way. And we all just like bonded. And there was a lot of healing, like deep healing for everyone. But I feel like you kind of led the group by starting that out and just putting yourself out there and being like, hey, I'm going to share this. And yeah, I'm the hype girl, but I also have this, and this that has happened and that I'm working through. So was that hard for you to do? Because I feel like it just seemed so natural, like you're just a natural healer.
Oh, thank you so much. In some ways it is kind of natural for me because although I make a joke and I sometimes feel insecure that like I don't have a poker face, like if whatever I'm feeling comes through, like regulation, is sometimes hard for me. But when I put myself in that vulnerable position, right? Like I chose to invest specifically in this like time to overcome all this stuff. And there's just like so much that I have been holding on to for so long that we're just like, ultimately these messages of like unworthiness. And that really hurts. Like it was just like it stings so much to your core that it was like really freeing to show up and be like, and honestly, I was like, within like the first sentences, like you're pulling a card, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm here to cry. Like I just couldn't because all the work I'd been doing throughout the week was just like this accumulation. But I do feel as though, although I've doubted it from time to time, I've always had this internal courage and I've always had this like need or desire to heal and build community. And I think in the last like 18 months in particular, and actually for a long time, I'd always been like, I used to have these fitness groups that I did online that would help people who were like, I've kept off and maintained like 80 pounds in weight loss. So I had lived in a spot where there was like, it was really hard for me on the inside how I felt about myself. And so I was like, the same thing that you were just saying, Stacey. I didn't want anybody to teach me or be my hype girl about fitness online that was like, I'm 20 and never had kids. And like, this is so easy. Just don't eat carbs. I was like, that doesn't resonate with me. So I had my own, but I had some life stuff happen and I had to regroup and, be back in touch with myself and my kids. And I circled back to this. I kind of have circled around this outer confidence thing a little bit, this outer beauty, how we treat ourselves on the outside to kind of fuel the inner side. But I really like, it was just time. It was time for that shift that it's like no longer the outside, and the outside's great. And everyone, like I'm a big proponent of whatever version of you makes you shine. You should be able to do that. No judgment, whatever is great for you. But I definitely think on the inside is where we can just like really experience some like deeper healing. And it was so great to just show up to the mastermind and be just like received so well, because I think sometimes we get a little nervous about starting with people that we don't know, but there's a power in this anonymity and this bonding that happens from the beginning that is maybe sometimes hard with the people that are in your direct life that have this bumpy history, that have maybe, lifted you up or let you down. So it's just like, yeah, it was life changing.
Yeah, I agree. I just think like the bonding that happened, it was like we were all meant to be there, like every single person. There were so many things like synchronicities. And I'm like, this is no coincidence. Like we were all meant to come together. And I think one thing I noticed is that when there's someone who is like very outgoing and like the hype girl and always smiling and always cheering everyone on, sometimes the people around you can forget that like maybe you need someone doing that for you too. Do you ever find that? Because I feel like you're always cheering everyone else on. And I'm like, wait a minute, like we need to be your hype girl too. Like we need to give you that energy too, because I think sometimes you can get in that mode of like taking care of everyone else, but then who's doing that for you? So do you ever find that pattern happening throughout life?
Yes, I do, honestly. And it's a little bit, actually, I think really this was on my manifestation was a group of new sisters. And I have some really amazing quality friends here now, but the list is short and small of who I really let into my world. And yeah, I'm often that for other people. So there can be some loneliness that happens in that when we don't have the vulnerability or the place to share. So receiving, and becoming okay with receiving the compliment instead of like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh,
Right.
And so, which means like that's a whole other subtopic, but also to like, to warmly and genuinely feel important and like people see the value in it in a way that shares the hype back with me, as opposed to like, I don't think people mean to take from that energy, but they don't realize that they're maybe not putting deposits back in there. And that it can be tough for sure. It can be lonely. And so I've had to really also develop, my own self-care routine, and like a recovering people pleaser, like in the last 5 years, last 3 years, last 18 months, it always is changing. There are people in my life who've known me for a long time, and they're like, so you don't really like appease everybody anymore. And I don't really even notice how much it's changed until maybe people around me. But I just, boundaries are easier, and, I'm open to receiving that. And then like, look at like the friendships that I've got to make here, and like mentorship with you guys, and, like some of my other manifestation millionaires babes that are, also there all the time. And I just know that this is going to continue to fuel that. And that will be like also, something that I'm building within like locally and online, is this like sisterhood. Part of this like vision for me is this like, dancing and outside and just like, really soaking it in together. So I'm excited for this next phase. And I think it's a good reminder even right now from you guys, like it's okay to let that energy come back to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a good reminder for like moms too, just in general, because moms are like, we all, it's part of your nature to take care of everyone around you, but we can leave ourselves depleted. But I think the word you said, sisterhood, is like what is filling up my cup and making me realize like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this alone for so long, but it doesn't have to be that way. And with so many online entrepreneurs now, I think that's an important thing to remember, that like you still need that interaction, and you can still find it even if it is virtual. That's like, what is that? I have no idea. What does
Oh my gosh.
that mean?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about this. Like, this is, this shit is going to help you take away from this stuff. Okay. So the people who are like me, okay, you have been in and out of therapy. You have tried all the modalities. You, on the most part, do all the things, right? You maybe don't think about self care as like, chocolate cake and bubble baths. You're like, it is disciplined, it has purpose. I need to do it. You kind of have had those mind shifts. This is the kind of thing that will like take these ideas and these pathways. So hypnosis is where we are going to help to detach or reframe a neural pathway that we have been on autopilot for forever without even knowing necessarily where it came from. Sometimes it happens from when we're a child. Sometimes we're looking, maybe we want to be more confident and we're speaking to our boss or in front of people. Maybe we just want to stop feeling unworthy of hype, of love. Maybe we are self-sabotaging or self-protecting, right? Really, our subconscious mind is like, it doesn't know the difference between I'm trying a new thing, I'm trying a new risk today, or like I'm gonna be eaten by a bear. It just like it says the same message. So how do we detangle that and this fear or emotional context that's no longer serving us? How do we detangle that and actually strengthen a new neural pathway? And that is where hypnotherapy comes in. It's like a dreamlike state. So, one of the common things that people get nervous about is that like, oh, we're going to leave these I'm going to program your mind. You're going to like tell me your deepest, darkest secrets and you're not ready to share that. or that, like you're going to be programmed something different. And the truth is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. If you've ever been driving and you can't remember how you got there, but you know that you drove there, that's actually like a version of brainwaves that's similar to hypnosis or trance. It just like you just are on autopilot. So what it does is purposely bring you to this autopilot through my guided voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just take you on an adventure using your imagination to help you. And there's many modalities within it, but essentially we're just coming back to the root of something and taking away that connection that has us so stuck in it. Because we can all go to therapy and there's so many great therapists, so much healing that can happen in there. But sometimes we get stuck on it. And even like, I feel like sometimes we're like beating ourselves up because we haven't solved it yet. I know for sure that was for me. Like, like, how can I have been going to therapy for 15 years and still not have this shit figured out? So that's the kind of like healing that you'll be able to do, is just to detach that. And it can be quite rapid. So, the kinds of things that you may have gone to counseling for a number of years can be healed and really rapidly changed in, a few sessions. It can be really transformative.
You explained that so beautifully. You did. Like you nailed it. I love it. And you're so right, because I think that it's important to intertwine the mind, body, and soul healing. So while therapy is good and therapy can be very effective, the trauma and those root causes of our limiting beliefs and that feeling of not being worthy enough is all stored in the body. And so if we're not, we can talk to ourselves and have somebody talk us through all of that. Logically, we can process and we can work on these tools and techniques, but until we're able to come up out of that through our body, using the modalities like hypnosis, also with therapy, that's, I think, when you see the biggest results, is taking care of yourself, like spiritually doing that inner work, the subliminals, the self-care that you talked about, still talking to somebody, just doing some mindset work, and then combining that with something like hypnotherapy. That's when you see that transformation happen. And like you said, so rapidly. So I think what you are stepping into is going to be a very powerful space. And it's growing. The somatic work space is growing tremendously because people are starting to figure out it's not just talk therapy. There are so many other components to it. We need to get through that. And I think what you're offering, the way that you explained it, I'm sold.
But I just like, it really is like, it can be life changing, and it can be used in so many ways that people don't even realize. It's been around for so long. My introduction to it was actually like pain management for childbirth. And I was like, there's no way this is even working. I'm like asleep during this. This is not working. I hope this works out because I'm having a baby at home in my living room and there's no pain control coming for me. So I sure hope it works out. Like, this is how I'm feeling about hypnosis. Like, oh, and in the end, like, it was there, bam. And then that same tool, the crazy and great thing about, I shouldn't say crazy, but the amazing thing about hypnosis is once that's repatterned and once you've actually used that neural pathway and start to strengthen it, it just is there. You don't have to like necessarily even keep coming back to it. I had a baby at home 12 years ago. 7 years later, I get a tattoo and I haven't had one like in a long time. And it hurts a little bit for a second. Hypnosis right there. And then I had a surrogate baby. She'll be 4 in September. I didn't have to refresh, same stuff right there. Once it's there, it's there. And it's like, it's so freeing.
Yeah. And it's something you don't even think about, because I think about hypnosis for like, childhood trauma or limiting beliefs. But yeah, like pain control, PTSD, like there's so many different things that you can use it for. And again, like, just the fact that you've been able to use it for all these different things yourself, it makes people feel more comfortable. Because I know my first experience ever even hearing about it was with, one of those like stage hypnotist type thing. And so you just kind of think like, okay, this is like some stage trick. You know what I mean? But then when I started learning about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything I thought I knew is completely opposite of what this really is. And it's so powerful. And I know like whenever people are saying, I've tried manifesting and it doesn't work, or I've tried doing this and it doesn't work. It's like we're trying and we're forcing things at the conscious level. But if you aren't getting into that subconscious level, you're not going to have that transformation, or things aren't going to happen as quickly as you want them to, because it's still there in the subconscious. So if you're only skimming the surface, there's not going to be that lasting change. Don't you agree?
Yeah, totally. Like if you're journaling and writing your affirmations and you can only feel it at the top, or you can only feel it on the surface, but at the end of the day, when you close your eyes, you're telling yourself messages of unworthiness. At the end of the day, when you're alone and that journal isn't open, and the automatic thoughts that you have are that I'm shitty at this, I'm stuck, I'm never going to amount. Like that was like I was doing all the work, all the therapy, all the things for so long, but ultimately I was like, I'm going to be alone in an apartment with a bunch of cats, and like I'm going to be living paycheck to paycheck. And, that's a story that comes from my family history, but it's really not at all my story, but it would not let go. It wouldn't let go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That a lot of the stories we tell ourselves aren't our stories. They're our parents' stories or our grandparents' stories or someone else's story that we took on as our own, and now are just completely unaware that it's, keeping us from everything we desire in life. And that's the thing with hypnotherapy. You figure that out. You get to the root of it, where, you know, like you're never going to do that just at the conscious level. You've got to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard to access that subconscious level without, I think, a lot of modalities. Stacey, I think you're totally right. Like it's a number of things. It is like a morning routine that we're excited about. It's journaling. It's quieting the mind. It's accessing these deep wounds and detaching them. It's like, but then on the other side of this comes this like, imagine manifesting from a place that isn't desperate. Imagine manifesting from a place where there's like true inner confidence on the inside of your worthiness, and actually allowing it to flow. That even just has been my work recently, like I've had this huge shift in this last, 6 months. And that has been this like tail end of it too. Like I don't need to have a desperation attached to it, because my worthiness is inherent. And so therefore what I just need to do is be me and shine my light and just have those channels open. And like even that's been just like a huge shift, and that wouldn't have happened honestly without my own hypnotherapy journey that I'm on too, where I have like been really working at reprogramming my worthiness and how I'm complete as I am, I'm worthy as I am, and I don't need all this other stuff to tell me that.
Yeah, and that's awesome. When you are able to go through that healing, it really does open the doors to so many other things that you had blocked for most of your life while you were in that state of feeling unworthy and not good enough and having to go through the struggles. And as somebody that went through it, Christina, you have all these tools, you've done the work, but to somebody that's just getting started and feeling unworthy, they're feeling stuck, like that place that you started, that all of these things might sound very overwhelming to somebody who's just getting started. Can you offer any guidance to somebody that is like, I am at this breaking point, I know that I'm made for more, I want to start this healing journey? Where's a good place to begin?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I think it's important, if you are not feeding your soul some sort of like goodness, to start there. So that would be like if you can just, watch what's coming into your mind, what you're consuming as far as content out from the world. So like if you just make sure you're taking in, like if you're going to listen something, try to find something that's like inspirational as far as a podcast. Just like really put a stop to what's coming in that's like maybe preaching that. So also helping to like listen to things that you're listening to while you're sleeping, like a subliminal message that talks about it. That's like the number one, I think, easiest way that people can do that shouldn't feel overwhelming, is listening to this like calming music that kind of changes it. That's like, I think step one is just a little bit of regulation. And then step two is to out, like reach out to somebody that you admire, that might, like be able to offer you some advice. some words of encouragement. Perhaps you're even ready to take something else on, like an actual investment in yourself, whether that be in therapy, whether that be in some coaching. That kind of think is like, don't skip on investing in yourself, because you're just making that timeline so much longer. You're stuck in this suck. You're stuck in this stuff that's holding you back for way longer than you need to. So take a moment, give yourself a hug, find some pieces to regulate with calmness, especially around sleep, and just like to be like, okay, and then, reach out to somebody that inspires you, follow their trips. If they're saying like, try a morning routine, then try it. Just that you don't have to do their 7-step morning routine. Just try getting up 30 minutes earlier just to like, watch the sun come up, just little things like that.
Now, if someone's listening and they're like, okay, this sounds interesting, how do they know if they should go and seek out, you or someone else for hypnotherapy? Like, is it just people that have experienced like severe trauma, or can this be applied to anyone across the board that is just maybe feeling a little bit stuck in life and not really sure like what step to take next?
Oh my gosh, I love this question, because like there are a ton of hypnotherapy videos online. Like my first introduction to it was with a coach, but then 12 years have been filled with like YouTube videos and stuff. And I'm not saying that there's not value in following somebody's meditation type state and doing it, but it's not customized to you. So you're actually not going on a journey that's specifically for you, and actually like unraveling your root cause, what's actually there for you. So while I think there is like benefits to like a 101 of hypnosis, or like a little bit, I'm having a hard time sleep. If you're really looking for transformative change, I don't think that that's where you're going to find it. Can it be a modality to help increase your like overall vibe, maybe increase your sleep, maybe increase, some other things that you're working on, for sure. But if you're actually looking to really break this and really shake it up, I think it's important to get connected with somebody in person. I think it makes a huge difference. And I wish I would have done it for myself sooner, but that's okay. Now I know, and I can help share that. I think it's important to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah. And I think finding someone that you feel really comfortable with, that you vibe with, that has good energy, that like just gives you that hell yes, like energy sort of thing, because you are going so deep, and you're like, it's kind of like you're exposing a very vulnerable part of yourself. So, finding someone that really speaks to you and kind of trusting your intuition, I think is important too, just so you feel comfortable like diving deep in the work.
Yeah, totally. And I want you to feel like when you're sitting with me that you're like, you can take a breath. That you're like, okay, I have this like spot. I want you to like know that I got you, that I'm like a little bit of sage and a little bit of hood. Like I understand where, it kind of mixes together. I want you to really just, have that feeling. And, it can be for people. Yes, absolutely. I kind of skipped over that, but like absolutely complicated PTSD, and generalized anxiety, like anything like that. But there are parts of us that are like, we develop habits and coping mechanisms that are maybe not healthy for us. Maybe we're shopping, maybe we're eating, emotional eating, maybe we're smoking or drinking out of coping. If you're using something else to cope, but at the end of the day, you feel shitty about how you just used it to cope and you didn't really, that's a good spot. Yeah. And if you're really like, if you're holding on to patterns that you're like shaking your head about, because you're like, instead of being excited for your future, you're filled with dread, you should reach out to somebody to help uncover that. And then like, let's kick that away. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah. And who's not ready? Yeah, I guess that's not the right way. Who doesn't have healing that needs to happen? Not everybody's going to be ready, but we all have some underlying healing that needs to happen. And I just think that's a really good umbrella modality to help anybody go through and have, even if it's a small transformation, it's like you said, rewiring your brain. And we get so trained as we are growing up with our parents' beliefs and society's beliefs. And some of that untanglement would probably feel really good, even if you didn't have any underlying trauma, just to feel free of everybody else's expectations and just step into your own authenticity and being able to be comfortable. Like, this is me and I'm okay being me. If that's all it is, like, I think it's worth it to do that. It doesn't have to be necessarily such a deep work. And it could be something that you work up to if you feel like, you want to continue with it. But I think for anybody, that's a really good place to start.
You just even imagine what 25% of healing feels like. The sun shines brighter, food tastes better when we've been like even 25% of healing. And yeah, you're right. You could just decide that was amazing. You can take a pause and be with yourself, or you can be like, oh my gosh, yes, and I'm ready for another 10%. But I really think just even a small amount of healing can really have a profound effect.
That's such a good way to put it, because I think that there's a lot of people out there who don't even realize how bad they feel. Like, they might not even realize how much anxiety or trauma they're holding on to because they're so used to it. Like, they've become so comfortable with being uncomfortable. But it's like, when you think about that, like, what would it be like to feel 25% lighter? Like, some of the stress just alleviated. It really puts it into perspective. Like, everyone could use that, because the reality is, especially in today's world, we're all feeling that to some degree. We've just normalized it so much that we're like, oh, we're good. We're fine. I can handle it. But no,
Totally.
like, we shouldn't just settle for that and put up with it when there's things that can really help us feel better in our life. And who doesn't want to feel better at the end of the day,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it just like, it can be just such a pivot, and you don't even know what's on the other side of that pivot until you've you're on it and you're like, what the frick was I doing before this? Like, now, it lights up. And my heart really extends for the people who are feeling stuck and they don't know which way to go. Cause I know what that overwhelm feels like. And it was like the number one thing that would ever have me at like the doctors and be like, this anxiety, I'm overwhelmed by my own thoughts and life. And, I think it can be confusing for moms because often we've managed just fine. And then there becomes a point where we're depleted and lost. And we don't even realize it's happening till we feel like we are so down and lost by ourselves. And then we have to kind of like claw back through it. And it's tough because you don't realize that, you're depleted, that you're feeling like that. And it's your spark is gone. And, we give so much. And, I have like in my life in 5 years, it looks even different. Like I have kids, we have 4 to 5 kids, I always call it. And like, it's changing here all the time. And so like, I just, I encourage you to not wait until you're at the end. Don't keep putting off what you want to do because you have like small kids and it's not your time. That's not true. And there is something for you even in that thick, and maybe it's not something grand or you don't know what it is, and that's okay too, but there is something for you right now and you matter.
Oh, I love that. And, the way that I look at it too is it's not just about healing. Like, you're making space for something to come in by letting go of whatever it is that you need to let go of. So, maybe like you're trying to manifest a relationship or a new job or more money or whatever it is. And you're like, why isn't this happening? Well, if you have all of this space filled up with trauma and things that have just never been resolved, you've got to release that. And this is a great way to do that. And then that space opens up for like new beginnings in life. So it really is just like something that I think everyone should try at least once and see,
Totally.
just see the difference it makes. And then, you can decide if you want to keep going forward with it.
Oh, totally.
And you don't even have to be able to put a name with anything that you're trying to release, because I had a somatic experience when I was at a women's event, and out of nowhere through this whole session, it was like I started blubbering, like almost to the point where I was vocally crying out loud. And I couldn't put my finger on what that was. But it was this sense of release that I never experienced, that when I walked away, I just felt lighter. And I didn't come into that room with anything on my mind or my heart that I needed to release. But in going through that, that was obviously a huge release. And I still to this day don't know what that was, but it felt so freeing. And so to put like a feeling to it, it's just like you said, Steph, making room. I felt like being in that room and allowing myself that release opened so much space for me. And that's when all of these things started to unfold for me. This was last October, and like the momentum that has happened from that, I can't put my finger on it, but it was an amazing experience. And it's just, you don't need to know. You end up just figuring it out when you're in that space, when you have that healing and you know what that feels like. You want more of it. And it doesn't matter the reason why, you just know that that is something that is helping heal you. And, yeah, I just wanted to share that for anybody that's like, well, I don't know what I want, or I have 100 things that I want to heal. Just go in with an open mind and trusting that you will walk away releasing something.
Yeah, and our subconscious mind will actually help to lead us there too, right? Like you don't even have to know what it is. Like it will just lead you to the space that it knows is hurting you the most. You won't even have to. And that's like, when you have somebody that's like actually experienced, has taken proper training, that's their whole job, is to help to just lead you to a spot, and you don't even have to know. Be like, I don't know what I'm coming here for, but and I love that you had that experience. I had something similar at a women's retreat once, and it lifted out of me and it just never came back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was healing on something in mom guilt. And it was like I healed, I would say 50 to 75% of it that day. And it just has not come back. So these kinds of shifts, these big shifts that, you can feel on a deep level, these somatic experiences, they can pivot everything. I love that for you.
Powerful stuff. So Christina,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to work with you or connect with you, reach out, they have a similar story, they want to know more, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, amazing. Thanks for asking. And thanks so much for having me. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm there, Break Free with Christina. I hope I said that right. and then from there, I have a link in there that's got some subliminal, some other information, some tips, and you'll just be able to follow me on socials. It'll have all my socials there on Instagram, but you can follow me along, and I'll be sharing all kinds of tips about how we take that spot. I mean, when you said, the person who's like, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to get started, this is so overwhelming. Just start by following, and I'll have little tiny baby steps, little tiny seeds, and we'll just help to pull you out together.
Oh, I love it. Christina, our hype healer girl. Thank you so much for coming on. This is awesome. Everyone needs to go and check out your stuff because your energy is amazing. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I adore you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christina.
All right. Thanks. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.